Rolling. Okay, so Russ, you like Russ, right?
Sure,
All
that's
right.
great.
So my first question for you this time around, Russ. Last time, shortly after we'd wrapped up the interview and you were kind of out there touting yourself off, you said something that I was like, all right, this is definitely it. I definitely want to do a story about this guy. And that was something about bodybuilding being about building a better you. I would like you to please elaborate on that for me.
When I say build a better you, I take a look at what my goals are. Because I tend to get fat, just like probably 90% of the world, I had to make a choice. Do I want to stay that way? Do I want to just, go about my business and eventually be huge, out of shape? Or do I want to sit there and be fit? So I made a choice that I wanted to be fit. So what exactly is that for me? I sat there and said, okay, I started like everybody else. I don't want fat. What do I need to do to fix that? And at first, you think, okay, I'm gonna go in the gym or I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna do something, run, to see if I can get rid of that. So I'd sit there and I learned what I could at the time, just like everybody else does. You just do it by trial and error. And I sat there and I achieved those goals. So while I was in the military, I was able to stay in shape for the PT test. So this way I can pass those goals at the time. Now, then all of a sudden it became kind of an addictive side piece for me. I wanted to know where I could take it. There's not many times in someone's life where you become really close to being really great at something. We all kind of meander around, hobbies, music or whatever, and you can become good, but there's very few times you will actually be close to a serious achievement. I can be better. So every single time I sat there and gave better goals to myself. So instead of just being in shape with body fat, I sat there and said, well, how can I get more muscles? I want to become stronger. Because I'd see, like I said, I was Army, so everyone else was stronger. We always have to pick up heavy rucks. We have to go far distances. And I know to be better at that, I need to be stronger. Now you have to find a fine balance though with that. So at that time, I had to still be able to run, because we did that 3 times a week, and I want to be stronger. If I sat there and did too much working out on the legs, it would hamper my run. So I sat there and said, okay, my goals would be to exercise legs, but focus more on strength than getting big in size. So this way I don't add too much weight, which would affect my run. So at that time, that's what was the best me. Then I retired and I was able to focus on my legs. They were far behind. And you'll notice in the military, that's where most people are. They have what I call their pretty beach muscles. You have the chest, the biceps, you might have some abs, but their legs are really skinny. That's because they have to run. And it's very difficult to run and keep muscle mass on your legs. So what I did is I started doing shows. And I did a couple back, I think it was like 18 years ago, and I was like 173 pounds on stage. Where this year I got on stage 190. But my goal was to get bigger legs, bigger back, bigger biceps, and pretty much everything. But how do I achieve that to get the better me? And I had to learn more about eating, how to eat, when to eat, what to eat, and that's very difficult. So that's what I did for those goals.
Okay, all right. So now, one thing I kind of want to touch upon, and you kind of touched upon it a little bit too, is that not everybody's fitness goals are the same.
That's right.
Not everybody's fitness goals are competitive bodybuilding.
Right.
Talk to me a little bit about goal setting in a broader sense, not so much individual sense, but goal setting in a broader sense, how it correlates to fitness and achieving it.
Well, like you stated, everyone is different. And it's going to be that way. That's what makes it so hard and so much fun at the same time. I always say it's most people are worried about their weight. And I laugh because there's so many times people say things like, I don't eat a lot. Well, there's your problem. Or I only do this or I only do that. If they could cut out a bone to be lighter, I really think they would do that. So it's just one of those things that I don't quite understand. So you first have to figure out what your goal is. And then you have to learn the healthy way to achieve that. And it's not always easy because there's 3 different body types. So you have to sit there and go, okay, what are you? Then you got to sit there and go, okay, what can I eat and get away with? Some people can do lots of carbs. Some people can't. Some people have to increase more fats, more proteins. You have to first establish where that average is, where that starting point is for you. And it can be a difficult thing to figure out. It can take a year or more just to figure out where that's at. So a lot of people want this now, this 20-minute abs, this 10-minute this, and it just doesn't work like that. It's over time. I've been working out for over 25 years to achieve what I have. So when people look at me, they just assume that what did you do? What are you taking? What are you on? No, it's 25 years of coming into the gym, being consistent, learning what failed and what worked for me. And each person has to do that, whatever goal that is. And to achieve that without injury. Injury will take you out. And that's one thing I always state with some folks. They'll come into the gym and they go, man, this guy's doing this girl's doing that, and they start lifting that same weight. Wow, you just started. I know you come in and you feel like a noob, you're out of place, and you're just like, wow, I want to do what they do. Don't let that get to you. Pick up the lighter weight, get yourself a log, whatever you're trying to achieve, write it down. If you're trying to, if you have like a 15% or less body fat, you're going to want to have lower reps, higher weight. If you're someone who's heavier, you want lower weight, more reps. You got to figure all that out for yourself. But you can go online, which is the great thing about the internet today, and say, here's what my goals are. And many places, bodybuilder.com has web information that will show you how to do that. There's many, many websites out there. So once you set yourself a goal, whatever that is, you need to learn how to be healthy while achieving that goal and preserving your body for longevity as you get older so that you can reach those goals and continue to work out into your retirement.
Okay. So next question. And this one kind of goes back to like when I was filming the bodybuilding competition, and a few things that I noticed and saw. So this is going to be a little bit more like competitive bodybuilder centric. So first question for me here is, I notice everybody has like I hesitate to use the word spray tan, but to the casual observer, it's like, oh, did he just go to a spray tanning booth?
Yeah.
Why is it that for the Caucasian bodybuilders out there, and even the Asian and whatnot, they all want to get like this dark, all over tan on their bodies?
Well, when you're on stage, the lights bleed you out. The whiter you are, the more it makes you look flat. So even if you're muscular, you will not see the individual cuts. The browner you are, the darker you are, the more that shows. The lights will hit you and you'll get shadow, and it will show those definitions. So this way you can show the judges what you have achieved. If they can't see it, it doesn't exist. And I've been to many shows where you'll have somebody, a white person will get on stage and he's extremely white. And you can tell he looks great. But then you have someone who's tanned, a white guy is tanned, and all of a sudden it just makes it look so much better. Wow, a great presence. White people aren't the only ones who should do this. Black people should do it too. A lot of times you get on stage and they think, okay, I'm black, I'm good. No, you're not. I've seen a lot of four-toned black people that get on stage. Their face is darker and their arms are darker because of the sun, and then their arms, legs, the shorts are different, and they have different tones. And when they're on stage under these lights, it will bounce those colors off, and that's all you can see. It will take away from your physique. You can be the best looking guy out there, and all of a sudden all I'm looking at is your face was white and it looks like it's just floating by itself, or something where you have the farmer's tan going on and it just looks awful. So you want to get that, I call it skin prep. You want to make sure any kind of, like divots, any kind of problems, you want to have that all scrubbed off. And it takes time to get your skin right. You'll have dead skin on you. So you have to make sure you scrub that down. Then I put on oils, so this way overnight I won't get any type of rash. Then the next day I scrub myself down real good, and I put more oils on, and I'll sit there and let that heal overnight. Then I'll sit there and start the next day with my first coat of paint, my tan. And then I'll do that again the next night and the next night. And I do that for 3 nights in a row. And then you sleep that Friday, wake up that morning, you put another coat of tan on, and then you head in. And then they have other gels where you can put a cream on, and then you put it on your skin to where it gets that sheen, so the lights bounce off you just a little bit. You don't want to go up there slimy, and you don't want to go up there where it looks like you're slick. And if it's hot, all that will run, and it will look like you have a river of chocolate going down you, and that's really bad. So skin prep is very important for everybody. I don't care what color you are. And then you'll look the best on stage. This show, I became second because of that. My color was not dark enough. My abs disappeared into the light. The next day, I took a photo shoot, and I showed the judges, and they're like, if you looked like that on stage, you would have won. But it doesn't matter. You have to be good for that day, that hour, those minutes in front of the judges, and hope that you prepped enough to where you'll show up the best. And that just didn't happen for me.
All right, so my next question for you here, this is kind of a little bit of an oddball one, I guess, but you know, when I was in college studying fine arts and sitting in class all day drawing naked people, I went and I took an anatomy class so I could get better at drawing naked people. And so I know a little bit. I'm not an expert, but I know a little bit about what the human body is supposed to look like. And you know, there are some people out there, you know, that I would see on stage that they look like a normal person, only with more muscle. Mm-hmm. You know, things are proportionate. And then I would see people up there and like, that doesn't look right.
That's right.
There's something not going on. How does that happen to bodybuilding?
Well, sometimes it's genetic. When you're on stage, you want to present kind of a X, where you sit there, if you presented your legs and your arms out, you have an X. You want to have this as your thinnest part of your body. A lot of people have a long middle section, and you probably saw a lot of that because for whatever reason the Japanese folks have these long middle sections, shorter legs. That's just how they're born. Can't do anything about it, genetics. So when they're on stage, their V stops here, it goes straight down, and then it goes back out. Then you'll look at somebody else next to them, and when they're sitting here, they have this smaller waistline, but the V comes here and goes in and goes out. Every part of your body does that. Small, big, big. Small, in the big, big. So this way, you present all little X's on your body. If you can have those to where each one has its own section, and it looks like it's doing that, it will look more pleasing, more aesthetically pleasing to the eyes. You don't even have to be a judge. Just like you were there, what's wrong? Why does he look so weird? Well, that's because all of a sudden his upper body, he has all this mass, all this stuff, and his lats tied in here, and then he had this long middle section. He had a short, stumpy leg maybe, and you're sitting there going, here's this guy, he looks great, and then here's this guy, what did he do wrong? He didn't do anything wrong. That's just what he's born with. Now, his job is to sit there and go, okay, how do I fix that or get as close to perfection as possible? He'll have to then widen his shoulders, widen his lats, do a lot of exercises to do that and keep his waist as thin as possible. I have the problem because in the Army we do sit-ups all the time. So I have a thicker waistline. The guy who won first, he was probably about a 26-inch waist. I'm up there probably with a 30. So when I'm next to him, all of a sudden you're like, well, this dude's pretty thick. So I have to make sure my shoulders and my lats make that V, which makes that optical illusion of my waistline smaller, because these muscles that I have here, they're not going anywhere. Not even operations could fix that. I'm not cutting muscle out of my body, so I'll just enjoy it.
All right. Now, there were also, some guys I would see up there that it's almost like, it almost looked like they focused on either the wrong parts of their body or focused on like certain parts of their body to an extreme. Mm-hmm. And how do you avoid that pitfall?
Well, I call that the delusion that you have in your mind of what you want to look. A lot of folks will look at themselves and they sit there going, yeah, this is what I want to look like. Well, that's fine, but the problem is there's a small box of what the judges say a bodybuilder should look like. You must fit within this box. The guys that you probably saw that were doing that are ones that just love to do biceps, love to do chest. Those are their strong muscles. Strong muscles grow faster, especially if you focus on them all the time. So they're on stage and you see these muscle groups that outpower the others. And if you went online and you cared at all, they would sit there and go, people would know that your biceps need to be as close to the size of your calves. Now, even in the Mr. O, the Mr. Olympia, very few people have that. They're so massive in the upper bodies, and then their calves, which are bigger than most, are still small compared to their body. There's only like 2 bodybuilders out there that have calves close to where their biceps are. And they're huge. Those are just huge. But when you look at that, it's more aesthetically pleasing. You go, okay, yes. You'll have people, you'll walk around, like I said, in the military, have all these upper body muscles, all chest, all arms, and their legs look like they're standing on little stilts. So you're like, did you forget to do those muscle groups? And that's always the big joke in bodybuilding, you know, don't let a friend forget legs. But you have to run. So they have to make that decision here. While you're in the military, you're kind of held to a standard where you can't put that kind of weight on. So when you go to a show that's on, of course, a military base, the odds are you're going to see a lot of that. And of course, with the Japanese, they happen to have long midsections. It's just their normal structure. And that's just the genetics. You can't do anything about it. You just have to sit there and honestly assess yourself, which is why you have somebody who's taking pictures, try to get some photos. Those are worth everything, because that will set you up for next year. Okay, I did not do that right. You know, I do that all the time. You're your hardest critic, but you got to look at it honestly. You know, you can't sit there and just say, yeah, oh, look at all these great things, you know. Yeah, I did a lot of things this year that I'm extremely happy about, but if you don't sit there and focus on that next year, the people that beat me this year will still beat me again next year. I have to sit there and go, okay, what did he do? What did I do? What I do right? Got to keep that going. What I do wrong, got to bring that up. So this way I can have that optical illusion on stage. And that's what it is. It's an optical illusion of health and fitness when you're on stage, because you will at that moment look the best, but you'll be dehydrated, you're hungry. You know, there's a lot of things that are going on. You can be cramping because you didn't drink water. So you have to sit there and trick your body to look a certain way and keep yourself as healthy as possible. And stay away from sick folks. Someone can sneeze on one side of the room when you're getting ready for a show, and you can become sick. That's how susceptible you are at the time. So that this way you look and present yourself the best on stage.
Okay. So I want to touch on a little bit of what you just talked about toward the end there with the dehydration and the hunger.
Yeah.
So you said that you're up there on stage and you're dehydrated and you're hungry.
Yes.
Why is that?
Yeah. Well, when you're on stage, you want to have the flattest stomach possible. It's very difficult if you have food in there. So you have to know what kind of foods. And to do the water right, you have to start 10 days prior. And what you do is you water load. When the body has water in the skin, it becomes smooth. When you're a little more dehydrated, your vascularity comes out. And of course, body fat has a lot to do with that. The more, what I like to call caramel nougat you have on the outside, will hold the water, cover the veins, cover the muscles, and they can't see it. Sure, you might have went from a 300-pound individual to a 220-pound, and for you, you look great, but you're not show great. The way to achieve that is you need to sit there and water load. So you drink double what you're doing for 4 days, then you drink average water that you were doing normally for a couple days, then you sit there and do half of that, then you do half of that, and then the day before, you're just sipping water. Every time you need some water, instead of doing glug, 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 you do sip, sip, sip. Now, and then of course you can play around with your food. You want to sit there and you want to eat more carbs 4 days out. What carbs do is they swell the muscles open. So as your skin becomes tighter and pulls, and the muscles swell up underneath, you have that saran wrap look. So you are tricking your body to do something, and to achieve that, it's all supposed to happen on that day you're on stage. And you have to take different supplements. You should be taking different things like magnesium for cramping, potassium. You should increase your potassium because of cramping, where normally you'd only take like 1 pill and it'd have like 100 milligrams. You're like doing triple, maybe even 4 pills a day. So this way, when you go up there and you're posing as hard as you can, you don't sit there and go and fall down. And there's been many professionals who have done that at the time. So you want to make sure that you're careful that you don't dehydrate too much, because if you do, you might look great, but you might kill yourself. So you have to find that fine balance. This year I was holding a little more water than I wanted, so I probably needed to dehydrate myself a little more. So this way on stage, the abs really would have bounced. Or I needed to increase my carbs more to where it flexed underneath. A combination of those two would have gave that optic illusion the next day. That this way the judge could have seen, and of course my color. Those three things right there would have made me better on stage.
Okay. One last question for you here, and this is going to kind of get more towards that sort of general fitness thing, concept. So, you know, there are going to be people that are going to watch this, you know, on television, on YouTube. They're going to see you with all these great muscles, and they're going to be like, you know, I wish I could achieve even half of that, or whatever. But some of them may think, but I don't like working out, or I'm scared to work out. So for those people who don't know where to start, or are afraid to start, what message would you give those folks out there?
Well, if you don't start, you don't achieve anything. And there's ways to start where you don't have to come to the gym. There's lots of great programs out there. The military, if you come to the gym, can give you DVDs of all the latest programs, the P90X, you know, all the different things like that. You could take that to your house, pop it on your DVD player, and work out to those to get yourself in shape. And they do yoga, you know, Kempo. They have all these different exercises to get you in shape, get you tighter, so that this way, when you come to the gym, you might feel a little bit better about yourself. A lot of times people want to come to the gym because, God, I'm fat, I look like this, I don't look like him, I don't want to work out next to that guy. Well, for one, don't worry about me. You worry about the guy in the mirror, that's you. That's the one you're trying to achieve the better body for, the healthy body. You're trying to achieve some type of a goal, and you have to do that. I have 3 friends in the last, 3 years, between the ages of 43 and 52, that have died because they were overweight. Their body just gave up. And that's going to happen more and more because of the foods we have. People don't want to cook, people don't want to eat correctly, people look at food and don't understand food. That's the biggest thing, and we'll get into that later. But yeah, it's just, you gotta really pay attention to what you're doing so you can take care of yourself.
Okay. All right.